Hello, everyone. I am so excited for this episode of the Persuasion Show and How They Persuade series. But I'm not excited because I'm with a man, and a really, really handsome man. I wish I was not that shallow, but unfortunately I am. But that's not what I'm excited about. What I'm excited about is this is the first time we've had a male faced with the kind of questions that I like to torture women with. So I'm really excited to have a torture subject that's not a fellow female, and that's really exciting. The other reason this interview is so exciting is because I've always referred to Todd. I've never, we haven't personally met, but I've always referred to Todd as the man with the kind face. And you probably don't know this, but every time someone mentions Todd, it's like, yeah, I know him. He's the man with the kind face. So it would be interesting to see how badly I can torture his kind face. That's giving me a lot of excitement. I'm really anticipating all that kindness turning into pain. Welcome, Todd. Todd is the creator of the 90-Day Year. He's the founder of Peak Athlete, and he is the kind of guy who works with top performers, which is a very, very high bar to set for yourself. So tell me a bit about that, Todd.
Well, first off, thanks for having me. And I had no idea that I was going to be the first dude on your show. So I'm honored to be the one to pop the proverbial cherry, I guess, on that one. So who am I? Well, first and foremost, I am a lover of root beer. Secondly, I'm a dad to 2 girls, and as of last Sunday, a new little boy, and live here in New York City. But I've owned a string of different, typically coaching and consulting companies for the last 20 years. The first one I started was the Peak Athlete, which is now almost 20 years old now, working with pro and Olympic athletes all on the 6 inches between their ears, helping them to develop better routines, set better goals for themselves, and then ultimately help them find the zone when they're out there playing, so that, you know, every single ounce of performance, competency, and skill that they have actually shows up on the field of play. And because of the work and because of the fact that I work with like truly elite athletes, you end up meeting and running into executives and entrepreneurs who many people have this aspiration of, or this story in their head that they could have been a professional athlete, or they like to think of themselves that way. And so I would get reached out to by, you know, other people asking me, hey, well, I've got to perform at a high level. Can you help me too? And so that launched another coaching company called the No Limits, which I ended up selling a little over a decade ago to a bunch of energy companies. Through that, I actually built the largest leadership program in the world, in the corporate world. So I also work with entrepreneurs as well, using my 90-Day Year system, which actually started in athletics to help athletes perform at a high level and actually ascend through their skills really quickly, or develop their skills really quickly. I simply took that system and put it inside of entrepreneurs' businesses to help them get faster growth, complete projects instead of building half-built bridges, and ultimately teaching them the concepts of how to develop what I call a wow mindset, which is someone who's naturally successful. So someone who doesn't sit there when faced with a challenge or an obstacle and worry and get stressed and get anxious about it. Instead, they love the challenge of it. And that's a fairly rare thing, but it can be developed, because at the end of the day, our brains are malleable. They're like Play-Doh. We can reshape them at any point in time, so long as we make the decision to change it. So at the end of the day, I just love working with people who are ambitious. And people who aren't ambitious get really frustrated in my world, because I am not necessarily the most pleasant of people who is your coach. That's not my job. I tell people all the time, my job is to, I'm not here to coach you on happiness. Happiness is a you thing, not a me thing. I'm here to help you get results. And whether you like it or you don't like it, that's you, not me. But you give me your goal. I'm accountable to the goal, not you.
Oh, okay. That wasn't what I was expecting from the man with the kind face. What just happened?
Is
that all of the sad? Is it just to kind of...
Well, I can't change my face. I can't change my face. My face is my face. So it's funny that you say that I've got the man with the kind face. You're actually the first person who's ever said that. And I've actually wondered why I'm the person here in New York City where I live that, you know, if there's 100 people that a potential person could walk up to ask for directions, everyone picks me. I get picked all the people walk up to me all
Have
the
a
time.
kind face. So,
And maybe we can chalk that up to the fact that I'm Canadian, I'm a farm kid. So, even though, in a business setting, I'm very direct, I'm very much in your face because I'll challenge people on, the bullshit stories that they typically have going on in their heads. But at the end of the day, I mean, yeah, I guess
that's what makes you interesting. I think I'm kind of thinking in terms of the work you do. And I think that's what makes you interesting because if you are nice and you look nice,
yeah,
I think there isn't a lot of mystery. There isn't a lot of, there isn't a lot of disruption. But
sure.
with you, the moment you started talking about your business, I could sense that disruption, the difference in the way, what I've seen and what I hear, the way you talked about your work. And that's really fascinating to me. That's awesome. Gosh,
Great.
probably, God, I would not want you as a coach, trust me, because this is really scary. Oh my God. But I know I can understand why people who really want to achieve big things in life would want to work with you because you don't give them the margin of kind of, scuttling away. I love that.
I mean, and at the other side of it is this other thing that you're going to be growing into all the time. Like
yes, absolutely.
I talk about the concept all the time of, feeding your shadow. Feeding your future. And what I mean by that is, if you look at the horizon line that's 90 days out, the reason that most people don't get the results that they want, or the reason that most people are frustrated today, where they're standing with maybe the money that's in their bank account or the amount of followers that they have on whatever social media platform they are, or the number of people on their email list or the number of products that they're selling or whatever the case is because of typically something that they didn't do 90 days ago.
Absolutely.
And so and the other thing too is people live so much in the immediacy of now, like they're trying to self-gratify right now.
That's me. I get it.
And so one of the first things I give to every single one of my clients is I'm also like I do some artist work and have since I was a young kid. So drawing, and I always custom draw something for a private client and then send it to them in a frame. And what it is just a horizon line with them as a shadow standing on that horizon line. And, just the phrase is, feed the shadow, meaning feed that person in the future. That's the person that you're trying to feed. You can't feed someone, chips and soda and chocolate bars today and expect that person 90 days from now to welcome you with open arms saying, hey, thanks for making me a fat slob right now, buddy. Or the business person standing on the horizon line 90 days from now, which is you saying, hey, thanks for not showing up on the field of play when you could have written something that could have provided more value to your marketplace, because now I'm standing here with not an audience to talk to. So when you think of it, so I'm always trying to give people, because when you think about how the brain works, visuals, over 70% of the brain is devoted to the visual cortex. So when trying to impart some sort of concept to someone or, a new philosophy, when you can give them an image, now they've got something tangible that they can hold on to. And so anyways, I'm constantly personally just feeling.
I love the concept of feed the shadow. I think that's genius. I love that. Let's talk about you for a minute.
Okay.
And listening to you when you talk about this, when you talk about your business, when you talk about your ideology, it's really interesting because to me it seems like everything would be easy for you, right? That's how it comes across, and I know that's probably not true.
No.
So tell me about your biggest WTF moment, at a personal level or at a business level.
My biggest WTF moment would have been there's a few that I could easily attach to. Probably the biggest one was when one of my former business partners embezzled all of the money out of the business and essentially put me in a state of I should have filed for bankruptcy. That's what my accountants and my lawyer were saying, just file for bankruptcy. But I didn't. I ended up paying it all off, and it took me 6 years to pay off all of the people, but I ended up paying it off. But anyways, that was my biggest WTF moment because I made quite a bit of money in the sale of one of my businesses, which then I took all of that money and went and purchased another company which was with a good friend of mine. And, a year later he ended up, essentially cheating me out of a lot of money.
Wow. And how'd you grow out of that loss of trust?
Well, that's a great question. How did I grow to that loss of trust? You're a good question asker because no one's asked it that way. I would say it took a little while. I think what it did was, at least it happened when I was young and I didn't have a family yet. So this was over a decade ago, or almost a decade ago. And so I looked at it as I'll not make that mistake again. It's a valuable thing to learn at a younger age than it is at an older age, where it's a lot more challenging to come back from. And I don't know that I've even like maybe unshackled the trust part of things. There's some, I'm always looking for other angles that people are coming at me with, but not in like a negative way. I'm really looking at it from how can I really fully understand the landscape of this opportunity or this, thing that's presented in front of me. So, but at the end of the day, I'd be a terrible mental toughness coach if I couldn't overcome that. Right. So, I've been living in that world for over a decade already. So, I had a friend who a week later, when we were out for having a drink here in New York City, she was like, she's like a model. She's from Australia, and we were out having, she's just a good friend. And she was like, I would be under the covers right now, bawling my eyes out. And I was like, okay, like it's done. Like there's absolutely, nothing that I can really do about this right now. So, I can wallow in it, or I can just, keep on putting one foot forward. Doesn't mean that it's easy by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't easy.
Yeah.
But I knew that I could do it. So,
but that takes a massive amount of mental strength, and especially at a young age. That's all I have to say. I'd probably cause physical damage to the person.
Yeah. Trust me, there's enough of those thoughts that went through my head. I fail for them right now.
And on that note, you talked about the situation where you took this happened and you took that situation and you turned it around. But then was it a situation, which is your biggest FML moment, where the sense of helplessness was so profound that you felt like you couldn't do anything? So what was your biggest FML moment? The helplessness that comes with that moment where you're like, my hands are tired, there's nothing I can do, fuck my life. What was that moment?
Yeah, biggest FML moment. Probably that one is my biggest FML moment, honestly. But my biggest, I would say, this is actually probably more on a personal side of things. And that was, I was in a state of transition when I was in my mid 20s, where even though I had the business that I was in, it wasn't really going the way that I really wanted it to be going. And I was in a serious relationship at the time. And then, she left with great kind of fanfare, and essentially I always thought was always going to be that person kind of next to me. And, basically in not so many words said, I just don't believe in you. I don't think that what you're doing or I just don't think, basically, I don't think you're going to amount to very much, sort of thing. And she was presented with an opportunity with someone who at the time was more successful, I guess, monetarily than myself. And so that was, because that's like that was the most trusted person that I had at the time.
Wow.
And so that one was, that one sent me into a good solid 2-month spiral of exceptional neediness.
Wow.
You could talk to my best friend, Mike, and he would tell you that I probably wasn't the most welcomed phone call, those days of the weeks when I was, because I was just, in a state of disorder.
And please tell me that you took your super hot wife and your super beautiful children and your multi-million-dollar business and shoved it in her face. Please tell me you did that, because if you didn't, then I'm going to personally fly over to New York and do that to her.
I don't think I even need to, because it's just there.
Such a big person. Gosh, what is wrong with people?
Well, I'm very lucky that I've had some really great mentors, and even in that moment when all that stuff was happening, I had this just one kind of anchor thought that I was constantly working with, even though I didn't believe it most of the time, which was, I can't wait to see the Todd that comes out of this on the other side. You know, and what I meant by that was, in the moments when I wanted to like lash out and, you know, do things that weren't going to, you know, serve me in the future, I wouldn't. And I would kind of go to that one thought was, you know, if I don't do that thing, that means I'm going to be a better person on the other side. And so, but that doesn't mean that just because I reacted that way, doesn't mean that those thoughts weren't there. I mean, trust me.
I'm glad. Oh my God. Thank you.
Yeah.
I felt like I was the only bad person in the room.
No. Deep levels of retribution have always, you know, seeped into my consciousness. And I mean, because we all share those thoughts. We all do. Like, no matter how good the person is. I mean, the Dalai Lama, I saw him in an interview once, who said those things as well. Like, he's had thoughts about killing someone.
I'll show them. I'll show them. I'll show her. It's absolutely.
Yeah.
That this I show them fuels my business every single day. So, so I know how that is. Tell me on a positive note, what was the biggest OMG moment in your business where you had success, or let's talk about success. You had success beyond your wildest imagination, your biggest OMG moment.
So there's one or two, I think, that are like kind of like defining little moments for me. But I would say that the one that is the most visceral for me is when my foot touched down on the tarmac in South Africa. And this was on the back of about 5 months of just going back and forth with the South African government. And it was made real when I touched down on the tarmac. I've always had this exceptional, you know, fascination with Africa. I've sponsored like little kids in Africa since I was, you know, 19 years old. And then to finally get there. And then what I was brought in for was to help all of the Black managers and leaders inside of the South African government, help them with their leadership and confidence skills, because of something in South Africa called the equalization of the workforce, which happened after apartheid. It was just trying to, you know, have the representation in the government at the leadership levels look more like what the representation of their population is, which is, you know, I think it's like 90-10 Black and white, right? And so, but that moment where, you know, it was just like stepping on the tarmac. It was just, honestly, from internal level, it felt like I was home. Like, we all come from the, you know, the Horn of Africa. And so that was a cool feeling, but then also knowing why I was brought there. And then knowing that, you know, the government saw enough in the quality of the work that I was already doing that I was the person to come in and help them, despite the fact that I'm going to go and help Black. Like, I mean, it wasn't lost on me, the irony. I'm a white guy from Canada, a farm kid, coming in to help Black managers and leaders navigate this world of being ascended into leadership positions above people that used to be their bosses. Like, those were all real conditions. And anyways, it went over phenomenal. It was such an amazing experience.
Was it a fearful OMG, or was it a delightful OMG, a proud OMG?
No, it was like just excited anticipation for what was going on, but then also just this realization of like a major goal that I always had.
Oh my God, this is so,
you know, going to Africa and not going. I mean, I'm not much of a. I mean, I love travel, but I love traveling for work. Because when you go and work inside of a country, then you understand the culture. Going and seeing it through the facade of being a tourist.
It's not the same.
And so I've been lucky enough to work inside of 82 different countries around the world, like really work inside of them, like whether it's Kazakhstan or Nigeria or Botswana or, you know, South Africa or, you know, Brazil, all the way around.
I love that.
That was my best OMG, or one of my best OMG.
That is a massive OMG moment. I love that. And getting to kind of play a small role in the shift in history, right?
Totally.
Getting to play a role in that shift in history, which is so brilliant. Okay, let's torture you.
Let's do it. Fire away.
I still haven't managed, so I'm really hoping this. Come on, you need to act a little bit frazzled. Just kind of put on an act, pretend you're upset.
I should have a spritzer so I can put the sweat on.
Just pretend.
Because I have a lot of brow here to put sweat on.
Just pretend you're a bit upset. I'm going to start with my favorite question, which I asked you before we started recording. And that's a very interesting question for me, because when I ask this question, when you ask this question to a woman, her response is very different, because that comes with a different baggage, right? A woman in in corporate world or an entrepreneur, whatever, when she faces some sort of unwanted sexual advance or physical advance from a client, let's especially talk about a client. The dynamic is very different because, it's gross. It seems wrong. It makes you feel dirty. You just want to lash out. I want to understand from you how you would react if you would face a similar unwanted physical advance from a client.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the question. How would I respond?
How would you respond?
Okay. So,
do you want me to role play? I can do it.
Okay, let's do it.
No. Just kidding. I'm not that. I promise I'm not that cheap. No.
No. So, I mean, it's easy because I've already played this. I've already played this in the past for me. So it's just like, so if it was you, I just like, Bushra, I really appreciate the affection or just the thought, but I'm a super happily married guy, and I would be doing a terrible injustice to my 2 little girls if dad represented the family this way. So so thanks, but no thanks. Anyways, but to get to the persuasion side of things, okay, there's something that's important in that statement that's there, and that is anytime when you're trying to persuade or negotiate, when you can adjust the hierarchy of the value that's being presented, and ratchet it up to like, so I changed the value in that I would be a terrible dad to my 2 little girls. That statement right there changes the value set. If it was just like, I can't do that to my wife. There's some people, because trust me, it's happened to me, who are like, oh, come on, she won't know, or whatever the case is. They'll still advance. But when you change it and you add in a different dimension to it, then you now own the frame of the argument more than they do. So there's a few set of values that at the end of the day, when you lay those down as your trump cards, they're very, very hard for people to negotiate back at you against, because now they're negotiating against your value. And if you've just said that you won't, disrupt that, then they're in a tough position.
That's a very interesting response. I also especially am fascinated by the first statement where you said, affection. And I think it's kind of not taking the self-respect away from the other person, which maybe in some cases she deserved to have that taken away from her, because she's hitting on a married man. Come on. She probably deserves that self-respect taken away from her, but she didn't do that. And that's really fascinating to me.
Well, I mean, listen, for as much as I'm really, really tough as like a coach to people or whatever, I'm not here to judge people's stories. I have no idea why that person's coming at me. And maybe they're just someone who's just in that moment or in that space of their life is just really, it could be a cry for help in some ways. And so, I don't need to like smash them with a sledgehammer kind of thing and shatter them, because I'm still my own person. I can still just say no, right? Like they don't have a gun to my head. If you said gun to your head, that's obviously ratcheting up a different situation. So, I don't need to.
This is really interesting, because again, for a woman, it would immediately be, it's gross. It's,
Well, and the reason, and for many reasons why it's gross is also because, when you talk about like, sexual harassment or rape, it's about power, right? Like that's, and so, and the female situation is, men are stronger. And so that's what makes it, because there is a sense of helplessness just to some people in those moments. And so, it's a completely different dynamic for a woman for sure.
This is interesting. Okay, next question. You suspect that someone in your office or in your business is working against you. Yeah. How do you approach the situation without causing a stir?
So can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Why is it important that we don't create a stir?
Let's just say that person is really popular or culturally important, or someone who's maybe the face of your brand. So you don't really want to kind of wash your dirty laundry in public. Let's just assume that.
Yeah. Okay. So if that person's really popular, and they're perceived as an important person inside of the company, I'm going to make the assumption that that person feeds off of those things as well. So I would approach them and say, you know, I'll use you as an example. You're my evil person that is coming at me. And I would just say, hey, Bushra, do you have just a moment? I want to talk to you about something that has come to my attention. And so, yeah, now we're in a private room or whatever the case is. And I would say, hey, just want to let you know that a couple of different people who kind of really look up to you have come to me and let me know that you're saying some things about me behind my back. Now, whether they're true or not, I don't know, because I haven't heard them myself, but I just want to let you know that there is this perception out there that you're talking about others in the organization. And I just want to let you know.
Oh my God, you're good at mind games. Dude, you could totally be an evil genius. What are you doing being all nice and kind? This is evil genius. You're taking away their fear of loss of popular vote. I love that. Oh my God, this is genius.
Well, in most situations of persuasion, anytime that you can be, you know, putting the hat on the other person and making it something that is resonant to whatever their core desires or needs, then you're going to get way more than it about being about you. Like if I said, listen, this is going to really hurt me, no one cares about Todd's problems.
Loss of prestige is the biggest driver. I love that. So it's the loss of prestige that makes them.
Plus, you're also kind of, to your point, you're doing a little mind screwing with them, because now they're out there going, holy crap, like, what am I doing by going in? And so, and ultimately though, if it changes their behavior and they become a better person from it, then, you know, that's good.
Yeah, I won't bank on that, but yeah, you're kind of trying to stay in the nice guy mode, and I understand, but I think human beings are mostly assholes, and I think that's just true across the board. Okay, next question. Considering your focus on excellence and high performance, I doubt this would ever be true, but I would just hypothetically throw that question out anyway. You quoted something in an article, on a speech, on a webinar, and it's wrong, and someone calls you out on it. How would you respond?
Well, this just happened literally 2 weeks ago. I was talking about commitment and consistent theory and confirmation bias.
Yes.
The two. And I mixed up the definition between the two. Okay. And a lady in the chat box said, you're talking about this the wrong way. And so I stopped and I said, oh, wait a second, guys. I've crossed my wires up. Commitment and consistent theory is X. Confirmation bias is Y. And I want to thank Bushra for letting me know in the chat box that I had mixed up the two. So I'm always coachable in that. Like if I get something wrong, because I'm a massive attribution person, like if Bushra says something that's an amazing quote.
Human beings are assholes.
Yes. Human beings. I'm not going to go put that on my t-shirt and say, you know, TH on the bottom of it. Right. Yeah. It's going to have your name on it. And you see this nowadays, especially on social media, like the amount of people who just put out a quote and they don't attribute on it. I think that's such, think about it from the perspective of when you're putting something out there, the people that you really want to ascend to meet, who are, you know, the reason that they're up there, they've typically gotten there from, you know, obviously a lot of great hard work. Some people scale up there through, you know, some levels of, you know, shadiness. It happens. It's the way it works. But a lot of people that are up there have a lot of character and integrity, and they don't want to attach themselves to little cancers. And so, when I see someone who does that, I'm just like, it automatically tarnishes your name. It's like, well, what, you know, just put the person's quote, like put their name on it.
And so, I love that.
So for me, like there's a lot of people who attribute different quotes to Mark Twain. Mark Twain said very many of those things, or a lot of people who love to talk about, you know, Napoleon Hill and Think and Grow Rich. Think and Grow Rich has pretty much been proven to be a myth. He never interviewed all those people. No one can go back and say that Napoleon Hill, because the basis of his story was that he had this conversation in this private with Andrew Carnegie. There is no proof of that whatsoever. And when you take a look at Napoleon Hill's life, it's the life of basically a shyster. Like, I mean, he was a snake oil salesman. And so, but everyone goes, oh, well, that was the first ever stuff. No, it wasn't. I mean, Benjamin Franklin wrote one before that. And then Socrates wrote one before that. So everyone loves to hold that up as the flag at the top of the mountain is like the best. No, it's not. And when I take a look at the really, really exceptionally high performing people that I work with, and then you take a look at the things that he talks about in that book of, what, really successful people have done or do to be successful. I'm like, well, these guys over here don't do a lot of those things.
Yeah.
Not everyone had a mastermind.
Everyone has a different formula. Success, thankfully, success does not have one formula. I love that. And I also especially love your take on not being ashamed of, because a lot of people would look at this. I know a few of my students who would look at this and they would say, oh, that diminishes your authority. When you admit that you're wrong, that diminishes your authority. But I love how you put it, where you not only admit it, you also attribute it to the right person. And I love that.
Yeah, no, it literally costs you nothing to say where that thing came from. It costs you, because the reality is, even if there's just a great frame of mind or a great philosophy or ideology or phrase or quote, whatever you want to say from someone who I would love it if I said it. If I put that up on a slide and I have that person's name, no one hops off of that webinar and immediately goes and Googles that person. That's not, and I've done the right thing. I've given that person their just due. Like, they came up with the idea.
Yeah.
So it doesn't rob you of anything. And then also the admission of being wrong. That's just being a mature adult.
Yeah. True.
Stop being a small teenager and into being an adult. When you take a look at, the world and the state of the leaders that we have out there today, there's very few people, obviously, who are willing to admit wrong, AKA the president of the United States right now. So
I think the world would be a much better place if we were to kind of go back and admit if we were ever wrong. And on the kind of heels of that question, I have another scenario for you.
Yeah.
So let's just say, and I know it is probably not true for the existing business that you have, because most of your ideas or your strategies when it comes to peak performance, they probably are universal, they probably hold true. But let's just assume that there is some sort of a new market trend or some sort of a new research that comes out, it disrupts the market, and it changes every single thing that you claimed was true in the past.
Yeah.
So there's this new recent brain research that renders everything that you've been teaching as wrong and worthless. How would you respond? Would you respond? And how would you respond?
Then I take the popsicle sticks that I use to build up my little, product or my frame, and I wipe them off the table and I rebuild with the new stuff. If there's something new that is proven to be even a better way to help people perform, it is my job. That's what my job is to help people perform, whether it's through the current system that we use that's extremely effective and proven by science, and then something else comes out and it's a better way, then I'm going to go and restructure it to build it in that direction. And then something else is going to come along, right? There's going to be some fascinating things that happen in the world of VR, like virtual reality, in the next 5 years. And, the reality is, if you have a choice between taking a traditional course online to learn how to do something, or to be placed inside of an immersive virtual reality experience, which one is better? Well, we can argue on what better means, but if better means faster, more effective, and a more just an immersive approach to learning and understanding something, the VR will win every single time.
Right? Stickier. And I think it'll also be stickier. The learning would stick more.
Oh, absolutely. So when it comes to that, absolutely. We're always looking at tearing down. In fact, I've got 2 neuroscience researchers who've been, consultants to my companies for the last 9 years. And, they're constantly feeding us new stuff as to like, because I mean, essentially this 6 inches between our ears is still an undiscovered country. Like they think they have it mapped, but they don't have it mapped. And so
I love that. This is really fascinating to me. And last question, which is more of a shallow question, but it's kind of a constant nuisance that most online entrepreneurs especially deal with. And I want to see how you would handle it.
Yeah.
So someone buys your course, they go ahead, they download everything, and then they go and file a claim.
Yeah.
Their bank or their credit card company. How would you react in that situation?
Well, I mean, already on our money back guarantee, we ask for people we say that it's a conditional 30-day money back guarantee. You have to show that you've done the work in the program. We haven't, that this situation has happened already, where people, download stuff and some people just go and try and sell it elsewhere, and those people get sued because I don't send cease and desist. We just immediately sue people. But in that situation, I'm not going to waste too much time on individuals like that. If they want to go and download, then we'll still execute a refund. But the first salvo back their way will always be, can you please submit the workbooks with all of the content inside of them, and then we'll, as you've agreed with the initials that you put on this form, here's your initials. You agreed to this, our
terms and conditions,
terms and conditions, then set aside. So,
and that
I mean, for me, by the way, like me, if I had it my way, I wouldn't have a guarantee at all. I don't believe I don't really believe in this whole money back guarantee stuff. It's out there because, you're going to get a higher conversion rate or something like that. And in many ways, it's actually indefensible because most states or most provinces have a 30-day, like no matter, like you can say you've got a 15-day money back guarantee, but the law of the state is still
allow 30 days.
Will still
you might as well give it.
Yeah, but as far as I'm concerned, it's a shitty way to approach life. Like, I need a money back guarantee on this. No, like there is no money back guarantee on life. Like either you're going to commit to taking action or you're not going to commit to taking action.
And okay, I'll ask a hopefully not that difficult question on this, but when you said that you would not waste time on approaching someone who does that to you, don't you think by doing that, by letting them go, by letting them do this, don't you think you are encouraging them to do the same thing to other people? Because then that becomes, they get away with it once, they will go ahead and do it with others as well.
Yeah, which is why there's a group of us who are putting together a consumer database where, and we got the idea from Uber actually, where every single buyer will have a rating, and people will be able to plug that into their CRMs. And let's say Bushra has a 2.5 star rating, and my policy is no one can buy from me unless they have a 3.5 star rating and above. You will not be able to access any product.
Oh, I love that.
So, and this is to help solve that thing. So, if you're someone who refunds, that's automatically going to,
lower your rating.
Lower your rating. And of course that really only works so long as you've got products that are really serving the market, because there's some people who sell stuff that, everyone knows that they just put it together at the last second, and, it's not really up to
I think that's also the problem, because if you encourage everyone to take a stance against refunds, and that's a problem too, because some stuff is shitty,
But I mean, again, this is all like algorithmic stuff, but maybe the first refund doesn't knock a star off. But if you have 3 refunds, well, that's
habitual refunder.
Behavioral, that's a trend that's there.
Yeah.
And then also just the type of, you can rate it against, the amount of customer service inquiries you get from a person. Like if someone's constantly peppering your support team, then that can be a knock.
This is really interesting because I'm basically not a very nice person, and I have a face to match that being not nice person. But I would this has happened to me twice, and I followed them to the depths of hell. I wasted time and energy, and I wrote emails and I submitted evidence, and I did not let them get away with it. But I can see your point. I think
well, yeah, so if you're talking about chargebacks, that's
I'm talking about a chargeback. I'm talking about a claim.
Chargeback, boom, like we will submit we have a process already built out in a system.
Yeah. I meant a claim or a chargeback. Yes.
Yeah, we'll win those chargebacks every single time.
You do, because that person knows that they cannot do this to other people. Okay, so at least we are on the same page on some level of nasty. Come on, Todd, give me something.
Absolutely. Hey, the level of nasty that most people don't go to, that I go to right off the bat is, when someone steals 90-day year IP, or they're trying to steal the peak athlete intellectual property that's out there. And all that stuff is registered, it's trademarked and defensible. I don't send cease and desist. I will sue you right away. And
sue you, screw you. I love that.
And so many people like to play the, I just didn't know. No, you did know. You know at a fundamental level that going and taking someone else's work and passing it off as your own is wrong. And we've been taught that since we were 5 years of age.
Yes.
So you can't use that. And so I'm going to teach you a very hard and an expensive lesson right from the start. You cannot do this. Like, I have slaved for 19 years on doing the right thing by my clients, by making sure that I'm giving them really proven systems, not bullshit stuff that's been passed through this self-help book to that self-help book to that self-help book. I question everything. And I want to know, where's the data on that? Where's the proof on that? And if I ever teach something that is not backed by data or proof, I will always give that caveat. I'll always put the asterisk beside it. And I'll always say, now, we haven't proved this out through data yet. We've got a series of case studies that seems to show that it works really well. So just so you know, now, is that the best way to sell something? Of course not. But for me, it's the right way to do it. Because I'm playing the long game by feeding that shadow. I want that guy 90 days from now to pat me on the back and say, you did the last 90 days right.
Whoa. Okay. Today I am going to reevaluate my values and my entire life. Gosh, what is wrong with people? Why are you such a good person? I need my husband back home. He's a much better human being than I am. I should call him and tell him to hurry back home. I need some niceness in my life too.
You are full of crap, Bushra, because you couldn't get good people on your show without being a good person too. You're just playing the avatar, which is fine. Play it.
Thank you so much, Todd, for having me. Please tell us. I know that I have heard so many great things about your program. Tell me about your program. Tell us where people can find you. I'm really excited to share you with my people. So tell us about you.
Yeah. So, easiest place to get in touch with me is toddherman.me, toddherman.me. And the program that is relevant, probably more to your audience, is the 90-day year program, which is a program to teach entrepreneurs how to get more done in the next 90 days than they would typically do in 6 months, a year's time, by essentially using the framework that I use with athletes for a long time on teaching them how to execute, how to stay focused, how to use feedback loops, how to use optimized strategies. Because so much of business is not about tactics. It's about, when you have the right strategy from the start, that's the thing that can eliminate a lot of the spinning wheels that a lot of people typically have when they're trying to grow something. Routines, and then toughness. So it's the effort framework. And the 90 years built off of that with a way of operating in your day, in your week, and in your month, so that you make sure that you get things completed instead of having half-built bridges. Because entrepreneurs are fantastic at starting stuff, terrible at finishing. And so I want to impart the importance of finishing. But the reason that entrepreneurs get so much value out of this is because 90 days is the horizon line to our focus. 90 days is the horizon line, and anything beyond 90 days has been proven by different studies to evoke high levels of avoidant behavior and procrastination. And so 90 days works exceptionally well for entrepreneurs. And I know that because in different studies that shows that athletes and entrepreneurs, from a fundamental mental framework of how they view the world, operate on the same wavelength. So for me, it's really easy to go from after I get off this call, I have to hop on a coaching call with one of my pro athlete clients. And so for me to go from talking to an entrepreneur to an athlete, it's super easy. There's there's a lot of resistance that happens in those people's lives. And so,
and that's 90day
really well. And last year we won the Leadership and Skill Development Program of the Year internationally.
Wow. It's an award-winning program. I love that.
Yeah. So
I love that. And it's 90dayyear.com.
The 90dayyear.com. Yeah. So we do 2 enrollments every year. I do one in June and then I do one in December because that's me actually coming in and really facilitating and helping people really understand and use the program and support. It's not open, where you can just go anytime. It's only twice a year that I open it up.
I love that. I love that. Thank you so much, Todd, for being here. I really, really appreciate this. If I creeped you out, please accept my sincere apologies, but this was an absolute pleasure.
Not even close. Thanks, Bush. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.